The film opens with a young man jolting awake. His name is Jin-seok, and today is moving day. The family is on their way to a new house. Mom, dad, Jin-seok, and his older brother Yoo-seok. They pull up to the place and pile out, but the moment Jin-seok steps, something feels familiar, like he's been here before. Jin-seok and Yoo-seok are more than brothers. From childhood all the way to now, the two of them have been inseparable. Yoo-seok is, by every measure, exceptional. Sharp mind, impeccable manners, never a harsh word, never a cigarette. He can fix anything that breaks in a house. He's gifted in sports, and women, needless to say, are drawn to him like gravity. Jin-seok, he has chronic neurasthenia, a condition that quietly chips away at both body and mind. It leaves him physically drained, emotionally fragile, prone to anxiety, and sometimes prone to seeing things that aren't there. A year ago, Yoo-seok was in a car accident. It left him with a permanent limp in his left leg, but in this family's eyes, he's still the hero. The move gets underway. Furniture shuffled around, mom wiping everything down one item at a time, dad directing the movers like a general on a battlefield. Yoo-seok hangs a calendar on the wall, May 1997. There's one room at the end of the hall with its door shut. Yoo-seok explains it quietly. The previous owners left some of their luggage behind in there. Until it's sorted out, the brothers will share a room for the time being. While helping his mother downstairs, one of the movers pulls Jin-seok aside. He asks about his brother, but there's something behind the question, a flicker of confusion. Before Jin-seok can even answer, Yoo-seok appears. He tells the mover his colleague is looking for him. At dinner, Jin-seok brings up the closed room. His father brushes it off. Storage, probably. Old luggage from the previous owners. Nothing worth poking around in. And more importantly, stay out. Then something falls. Inside that room. Mom says it's just thunder. Nobody at the table looks entirely convinced.
야, 진짜 무지고생할 뻔했네. 그러니까요.
By 11 o'clock, Jin-seok sits at his desk working through some assignments. He and Yoo-seok chat for a bit, easy, comfortable conversation. Then Jin-seok puts on some music and starts winding down. And then he hears it again, that sound, coming from the closed room. He looks up. Jin-seok stares at it for a long moment, then gets up, moves toward it slowly, reaches out for the handle. Yoo-seok appears out of nowhere. Hey, let's go outside, get some air, talk for a bit. Jin-seok lets himself be pulled away. They step outside into the night. Then Yoo-seok's phone rings. Dad needs help with something inside. He tells Jin-seok to wait right there. He'll be back in a minute. Then, movement from the shadows. Fast and coordinated. A group of men. They take Yoo-seok just like that. He's gone. Jin-seok sprints back inside. He finds his parents and tells them what happened. Yoo-seok is gone, then his legs give out. He collapses. When he comes to, the house feels different, and Yoo-seok still isn't back. Two police officers sit across from Jin-seok and ask him to walk them through everything. What he saw, what he heard. Jin-seok does his best. The rain was heavy that night. The men moved fast. He was panicking, but the license plate, that he remembers. He's certain of it. The officers exchange a look. No vehicle registered under that number. One of the officers speaks carefully. Maybe Jin-seok misread it, and they're aware that he takes medication regularly for the neurasthenia. That kind of condition can affect focus. Jin-seok feels the blood rise to his face. He knows what he saw. One day passes, then two, then a week, 15 days, and still nothing. No sign of Yoo-seok anywhere. Jin-seok is unraveling at the edges. He keeps to his medication routine, carefully, deliberately, but sleep offers no escape. Every time Jin-seok closes his eyes, he sees the same thing. A man, bound, being hurt. Every night, the same dream. He doesn't know what it means. Then the sounds start again. From that room, the one with the closed door. Jin-seok sits up in bed and listens. The sounds are real. And then, slowly, the door to that room swings open on its own. And then, movement. Something on the other side of that darkness begins to move toward him. And then, just like that, Yoo-seok comes home. But something is off. Yoo-seok remembers nothing, not the men who took him, not where he was kept. It's all just blank. The family holds him close and tries not to ask too many questions. Not yet. That night, Jin-seok tells his brother quietly how worried he's been, how every day felt longer than the last. Eventually, they both drift off to sleep. Jin-seok wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of the front door closing. He rolls over. Yoo-seok's side of the bed is empty. He closes his eyes and goes back to sleep. Morning comes. Yoo-seok is back in bed. Everything looks normal. Jin-seok reaches for his medication. The pill slips from his fingers and bounces across the floor. Before he can pick it up, Yoo-seok is already calling him to breakfast. Jin-seok leaves the pill where it fell and heads to the table. Over the meal, he brings it up casually. Where did you go last night? Yoo-seok looks at him. I didn't go anywhere. You were probably just dreaming. Jin-seok doesn't push it. But later, as Yoo-seok gets up to head outside, and something about the way he moves isn't right.
다리 왜 그래? 왜 오른쪽 다리를 절어?
Yoo-seok comes home that evening and turns in early. Jin-seok stays up, books open, working through his studies at the desk. By midnight, his eyes give out. He's asleep in the chair, or at least that's what it looks like. Because when Yoo-seok slips out of bed and moves through the room, Jin-seok's eyes are open just enough to see. His brother is walking without a limp, not struggling, not compensating, just walking, normally, like the accident never happened. He follows Yoo-seok out into the night, keeping his distance, staying in the shadows. And the more he watches, the more wrong it all becomes. No limp, no glasses, and then Yoo-seok pulls out a cigarette and lights it. Yoo-seok arrives at a meeting point. Two men are waiting for him. Jin-seok squints from the shadows. He recognizes them. They're the two police officers who came to the house. Yoo-seok speaks to them in a low voice, sharp, commanding, and the words coming out of his mouth are nothing like the brother Jin-seok grew up with, then turns and walks away. Jin-seok keeps following. Then Yoo-seok simply vanishes. And the two men are right behind Jin-seok. He runs through alleys. The two men close behind him faster than they look. Jin-seok pushes himself into the darkest gap he can find, presses his back against the wall, and holds his breath. Jin-seok jolts awake at his desk. He spins around. Yoo-seok is in the bed, asleep. Jin-seok's breathing doesn't slow down. He backs away, into the bathroom, slams the door behind him. Yoo-seok stirs, calls through the door with that familiar, calm voice, telling Jin-seok to relax. He screams through the door. What did you do last night? Yoo-seok's voice stays level. He doesn't know what Jin-seok is talking about. Bad dream, maybe. It happens. Just come out and calm down. Jin-seok's voice goes cold. Don't lie to me. I heard the pencil. I was awake. I saw everything. Where is my brother? Jin-seok demands. What have you done with him? The words land hard. Nobody speaks. The bathroom, completely silent. Jin-seok eventually steps out.
샤프심, 네가 탔던 택시 널 뒤쫓던 그 남자들 전부 다 실제로 있었던 일이 아니라고.
At the state of him and then asks one quiet question. Did you take your medication yesterday? And just like that. And then it hits him. The pill. He never took his medication. That's all it was. Jin-seok exhales. He goes to his brother and apologizes for all of it. A little while later, Jin-seok watches Yoo-seok head out the front door. The slight drag of the left leg, the limp, exactly as it's always been. Jin-seok almost smiles. Then his eyes drop to the desk. The pencil is still there. He stares at it. If last night was just a hallucination, Yoo-seok mentioned taking a taxi last night. Jin-seok turns that over in his mind. He never told Yoo-seok he went outside about a taxi. So how did Yoo-seok know to say that? The front door opens. Mom is home. Jin-seok pulls her aside and tells her everything, every detail. His mother listens. They make a plan. Tonight, when Yoo-seok slips out again, all three of them will follow.
그 사람 형 아니야.
He opens the closed room. He steps inside. It's empty. Just four walls and shadows. No luggage, no presents. Jin-seok stands in the middle of the room and breathes. Then he hears his mother's voice from down the hall. She's on the phone. He moves closer to listen, and what he hears stops him cold. His mother is telling someone that Jin-seok seems to have figured it out, that he's getting too close to the truth. Jin-seok's foot comes down on a loose floorboard. His mother's voice stops mid-sentence. Footsteps, moving through the house, checking every room. He presses himself against the outer wall, heart slamming against his ribs, and the moment her footsteps pass, he moves. Fast, quiet, back through the window, back into his room. He's in bed before she reaches the door. His mother knows. She stands in the doorway and looks at him with eyes that carry something cold and unrecognizable. Then she turns and walks away. She tells someone to come back now, because Jin knows everything. Jin-seok doesn't wait to find out what happens next. He runs. Then his father appears, blocking the exit, arms out, voice steady in that way that no longer feels like a father's voice. Jin-seok pushes through. He doesn't look back. He runs until the streets feel safer. He loses the people following him somewhere in the turns and alleys and doesn't stop moving until he sees the lights of a police station ahead. He goes inside, sits down, and tells them everything. The officer reads the report back to him, held against his will for a month. A group of people posing as his family. systematic deception. Then the officer looks down at the file in front of him. Born 1977, current age 41. Jin-seok blinks. 41, he says. I'm 21, sir. It's 1997. I was born in 1977. That makes me 21. A few people in the station exchange glances. Someone points to the wall calendar. Jin-seok looks up at it. 2017. The room tilts beneath him. 20 years. He didn't lose a month.
해공 합동의장대가 도열했습니다. 국빈 방문.
Jin-seok doesn't know what else to do, so he goes back to the house. The moment he steps inside, he hears it. Music drifting from behind that door, the closed room, the one that has unsettled him since the very first day. He pushes it open. Inside, 2 mannequins, positioned deliberately, a knife on the floor, and blood everywhere. Jin-seok stands in the doorway and can't move. Then he hears footsteps behind him. The family is home. He turns around, looks at all of them, and finally asks the question, "Who are you? What have you done to me?" Yoo-seok doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. He says, 20 years ago, December 20th, 1997, every member of the family that lived in this house was killed, all of them, in one night, and you don't remember any of it. 20 years ago, a mother and her young daughter were killed inside that house. No clear motive, no warning, just a knife. And 2 lives ended in a single night. The case shook the entire town. Police investigated, leads were followed, but the killer was never found. Years passed. The case faded from the headlines. The town moved on, but the family of the victims never did. So they did something the police couldn't. They hired someone to go looking themselves. A private investigator, a man whose real name wasn't Yoo-seok at all. It was Choi. It took 4 years. 4 years of searching before they finally found Jin-seok and brought him in. And those dreams, the ones that had haunted Jin-seok every single night since moving into that house. The man bound to a chair, that was him, being held, being broken down. Choi pressing him over and over again to confess, to say out loud what he had done, to admit that he had walked into that house 20 years ago and killed 2 people he didn't even know. But something wasn't adding up. He didn't resist in the way guilty men resist. He wept. He screamed. He begged to understand what he was being accused of. His confusion wasn't performed. It was real. He remembered nothing. And now the victim's family finds themselves in a place they never expected to be. They wanted answers. They wanted someone to look them in the eye and own what they did. There was only one path left forward. Choi brought in a specialist, a hypnotherapist named Mr. Park. Mr. Park sits across from Jin-seok and studies him carefully. Then he explains what he believes is happening. There are pieces missing, gaps in Jin-seok's memory that don't occur naturally. They were removed, not by someone else, but by Jin-seok himself, unconsciously, psychologically. When a memory is too painful, the mind can simply bury it. Mr. Park has a proposal. Rather than trying to force Jin-seok directly back to the night of the killings, they'll construct a false scenario, a controlled memory environment, set the clock back to 1 month before everything fell apart. May 6th, 1997. Back to the beginning. Mr. Park had one more piece to the plan, a medication carefully prepared. Jin-seok would need to take it regularly, every day, without fail. The pills would sustain the hypnotic state, keep his mind anchored inside the constructed reality. Choi got to work building the rest of the scaffolding. He recruited 2 people to play the parents, a woman and a man, convincing enough to hold up under close contact. The house was selected deliberately, prepared, dressed to match a specific time and place. And then Mr. Park sat Jin-seok down and went to work on his mind. The year was 1997. He was 21 years old. When Mr. Park gently asked what he remembered from that time, Jin-seok's eyes went soft. He saw a car, his family around him. They were moving to a new house, and so the operation began. Choi became Yoo-seok, the perfect older brother. The fake mother and father took their places. A false family, a false year, a false life, built entirely around one real and fragile mind. The operation nearly unraveled more than once. The moving crew was the first close call. One of the workers looked at Jin-seok and then looked at Choi, the supposed older brother, and couldn't hide his confusion. The age gap between them was obvious. Then there were the sounds from the closed room, the thumps and shuffling that had unsettled Jin-seok from day one. 2 of Choi's men working quietly inside, carefully reconstructing the crime scene. Every detail considered, every element placed with purpose. The goal was simple. Put Jin-seok in that that room on the right night in the right conditions and let the memory find its own way back. Then came the setback nobody planned for. Choi was arrested. A complaint had been filed, fraud, assault. The operation stalled completely. Everyone waited and the rain didn't come because the night they were recreating had happened during a heavy downpour. In the meantime, they began feeding Jin-seok the inconsistencies deliberately, each one designed to sharpen his suspicion, raise his anxiety, and push his mind closer to the edge of what it had been hiding. Then the rain finally came. The moment arrived. Jin-seok stepped into the reconstructed crime scene on a stormy night. He looked at the mannequins and remembered nothing. He stood there and told them, again, that he did not kill anyone. Choi's patience finally snapped. 20 years. 4 years of searching. And Jin-seok was still standing there saying the same thing. Choi looked at him and said it plainly. He was going to die for what he did, and it would not be quick. Jin-seok felt the threat land in his chest like something physical. He didn't think. Choi and his men give chase, but the pursuit ends violently. Crash. And then Jin-seok doesn't stop to look back. He runs until his legs give out. He wakes up in a hospital bed, and somewhere in the quiet of unconsciousness, the missing memory finds its way home. 20 years ago, May 1997, moving day, Jin-seok and his family on the road, heading toward a new house and a new beginning. They never made it. The accident happened somewhere along the way, sudden and devastating. Jin-seok's parents were gone. His brother Yoo-seok survived, but he didn't wake up. He was moved to a hospital bed and stayed there. 6 months later, the Asian financial crisis hit. The economy buckled. Jobs disappeared overnight. Jin-seok was alone, broke, grieving. He tried everything. Job applications with requests for advance payment. Loans from anyone who might say yes. Every door closed in his face. Then the doctor found him, the one overseeing Yoo-seok's care. He sat Jin-seok down. An operation was needed, soon. Without it, Yoo-seok wouldn't survive much longer. Jin-seok sat with that information in a hospital corridor with no money, no family, and no options. And somewhere in that moment, something shifted. With no money, no options, and a brother running out of time, Jin-seok did something desperate. He posted online a simple, humiliating message that he would do anything, any kind of work for money. No questions asked. A message came back, a job offer. The payment was more than he had ever seen. Enough to cover the operation. Enough to save Yoo-seok. All he had to do was kill someone. Jin-seok stared at the screen for a long time that night, and then he said yes. The mysterious contact called him, a man's voice. He gave Jin-seok an address, a house where a mother lived with her 2 children. The instruction was clear. The mother only. The children were not to be touched. Not a scratch. Jin-seok showed up that night. He found them asleep. The mother, her young son, curled up beside her, peaceful, completely unaware. Jin-seok stood over them with the knife in his hand and couldn't do it. He lowered the knife, turned to leave, told himself he would find another way. Then the mother woke up. She saw him standing there in the dark, and the fear on her face broke something open in the room. Jin-seok whispered, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm leaving. Please don't scream." But then her daughter appeared in the doorway. What happened next was never meant to happen. A moment of panic, and the daughter fell. The mother screamed, and Jin-seok, out of blind animal panic, silenced her. Jin-seok's legs could barely carry him. He moved toward the door, shaking. Then a small voice broke the silence. A little boy, standing in the hallway, rubbing his eyes. "Mister, who are you? Where's my mom?" Jin-seok stopped. He looked at the child. He knelt down, kept his voice steady, told the boy to go back to bed, to close his eyes and count from 1 to 100, 10 times over. By the time he was done, his mother and sister would be back. The boy nodded, padded back to his room, started counting. Jin-seok walked out the front door, but before he left, his eyes caught the wall, a family photograph, and in the center of that photo, the father. He knew that face. It was the doctor, the mysterious voice on the phone, the man who gave him the address, the man who said only the mother. He had used Jin-seok to murder his own wife for the insurance money.
하나, 100, 하나.
When the counting finally stopped, the boy picked up the phone. He called his father, voice trembling. He told him the man from before had lied. "Daddy, why are mom and sister lying on the floor like this? There's so much blood." On the other end of the line, the doctor went silent. His daughter, she wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't part of what he had planned. Jin-seok was already at his door. He stood in front of the man who had orchestrated everything. The tears came before the words. "How could you do that to your own family?" The doctor looked back at him without flinching. "Don't point your finger at me," he said. You did what you did for your brother. I did what I did for my reasons. We're not so different. And the doctor lunged. What followed was brief, desperate. Two broken men with nothing left to lose. And that was the moment Jin-seok's mind simply let go, not gradually. The grief he had swallowed since the accident, his parents, his brother lying motionless in a hospital bed, the night with the knife. Jin-seok opens his eyes, hospital lights, and Choi sitting right there, waiting. Choi reaches toward the IV line, a syringe in his hand, the kind that ends things quietly. Then Jin-seok speaks. Where is the victim's family? I have wronged them. Choi goes still, and he knows. The memory is back, all of it. Jin-seok remembers everything. Choi leans forward. He asks, why did you kill that woman and her daughter? Were you given instructions by the husband? Because Choi had done his homework. He had found something buried in the financial records from that time. 1 month before the murders, the husband had taken out a life insurance policy on his wife, a large one. And now the final piece falls into place. The little boy who stood in that hallway 20 years ago, the one Jin-seok knelt down to comfort, the one he asked to count to 100, 10 times over, that boy was Choi. Choi looks at Jin-seok in the hospital bed, and the calm, controlled investigator who spent, why didn't you kill me that night? The question comes out raw. Do you have any idea what it's like to grow up in an orphanage? I had nothing. I was alone every single night for years. I cried myself to sleep thinking about one thing, one person, the man who took my mother and my sister away from me. Choi asks one final time, you killed them because my father ordered you to, didn't he? Jin-seok looks at him. He makes one last choice. He says no. He says the killings were his decision, his actions, his alone. And Choi's expression breaks open in a way that anger never could, because he knows. He can hear the lie wrapped inside the confession. Jin-seok is protecting him, protecting the memory of a father who ordered the murder of his own wife. Choi walks out of the hospital room and he lets Jin-seok live because the thing he has been chasing for 20 years has just collapsed into something he never prepared for. His father was the one who started all of this. There is nothing left to fight for. And Jin-seok lies in that hospital bed carrying the same emptiness from a different direction. His memory is back, all of it. And now he knows what it did to the child who survived it. Both of them arriving separately, quietly, at the same conclusion. This is a heavy place to end a story. The film doesn't end in a hospital room, a flashback, earlier than everything we've seen. Jin-seok's family is there, laughing, calling out to him, waving him over. A normal day, a happy one. And there, somewhere near the water's edge, a small boy with his own family. Young Choi with his mother, his sister, his father. Two families, strangers, sharing the same beautiful afternoon without knowing it.